When we're looking at what counts as deposits, and we've kind of spoke about this, there's kind of 4 components, as I would see it, that kind of makes up your physical pension, okay? There's going to be load, so resistance training, and that when we're trying to categorize, right, what's resistance training? Anything where we're in the gym, where we're lifting something moderately heavy, okay? And as we're lifting that weight, our form or the speed at which we can lift it starts to deteriorate. So what I mean by that is, if you're doing a goblet squat, and you're to do 10, and the 10th one looks like the first one, we're not training hard enough, all right? And that's not me coming over going, oh, lift more weight. That's your body telling you that, hey, that didn't deteriorate in any way, shape, or form. So it's not close enough to a limit to elicit a big enough response. As I say that, any amount of training is better than no training. But if you're here, you might as well maximize what you're doing. That would be my kind of take on it, okay? Now, that doesn't always mean heavier weights. It could be more reps. It could be more control over the weight. But the idea of the resistance piece is anything where we're lifting, where we're approaching failure of the movement. Does that make sense? Then we go in and there's kind of cardiovascular. And when we say cardiovascular, it's any movement where we're in the gym, where failure is not necessarily the outcome that we're looking for. We're looking to tax our cardiovascular system. So our heart rate is going to elevate and spike. Our breath is going to change. And as a result of that, we're going to start sweating, okay? So if you're in the gym and you've never once sweated, maybe, hey, now listen, again, different people are here for different reasons. And again, if somebody's starting off, they mightn't want to feel that level of exertion. But if you've never sweated in the gym, it's like, hey, maybe you should push a little bit more. And not push because we want you to push because you can, and push because you'll get more of a benefit from what you're doing, okay? So that's our kind of cardio piece out of the way. You would think at the end of your workout, we usually have a cardio piece in most people's training. When we are doing a fit class, there's a cardio piece. High rocks, huge cardio component, okay? Now, if I go back to walking through the airport, carrying a bag, and then going up a flight of stairs, or being able to go up a flight of stairs, now you can see how I've got a strength component. There's a cardio component because I'm walking under load, or even just being able to walk, you know, through the airport. If you're going Ryanair, you're probably going to be walking a ways away, all right? So you're thinking about that cardio. So now it's like, in order for me to be able to walk up that stairs carrying a bag, how cardiovascularly fit would I have to be today, okay, in order to do that? So again, just something to think about. When we look at balance and mobility, Amy or Mitch be the ones to talk to. That's Amy doing her upside downies. But mobility is basically the access we have or the range of motion that we have control over, okay? As we age, most people start to reduce down the movement that they do, okay? So a lot of times, and we've got some stuff here in a minute, but a lot of times people just think, as I get older, I'm going to deteriorate. There will be an element of that, but a bigger element is if you actually sat down and spoke to people, you said, hey, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Oh, well, when I was younger, I played a bit of football, or played a bit of sports, or I ran around with the kids. They grew up. I'm not playing sports with them anymore. I'm just sitting at a desk, sitting at a desk, sitting at a desk. So it was the sitting at the desk which caused the issues, not necessarily the age. So if we're not using a range of motion over your head, down to one side, twist and turning, we're going to lose that range of motion. So anything when we talk about mobility, we're trying to access bigger ranges of motion. Why might that be important from your guys' perspective, do you think? Don't all shout out at once. Yeah, pop quiz. Who's been listening to the mobility? But, and again, there's no right or wrong answers, and it's realistic for each person.
I suppose why stage to prevent a possible injury?
It could be it helped prevent an injury, and it gives you access to more things. So imagine you're in a car and you've got to reach behind and smack one of the kids. No, I'm only joking. Don't put that in film. No, reach behind and give somebody, you know, a box of whatever, you know, sweets. Here, take that, whatever it is behind. You've got to have internal rotation of that shoulder. To put on a jacket, we've got to internally rotate your shoulder. And if you've ever injured your shoulder and you lose some range, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're trying to put your jacket on in another way, okay? I know for me, every now and again, I blow me back up and it's like all of a sudden you're calling someone to put your socks on, right? Because I haven't got that access. So again, having more mobility, or, you know, if I slipped, somebody was talking, I think we were talking, Paul, there's a lot of leaves outside. So if I slip and catch here, there's a range of motion required. Now, if I only have a small range of motion and I go beyond that, I'm going to tear something. I'm going to hurt myself. So having more access to more ranges kind of insulates you from potential injury, okay? And you can stand on your neck and things like that. It looks cool in the picture. The last piece then we have is this idea of confidence, connection, play, expression. Because ultimately, you know, for the most part, when people are coming in here, they're not involved in powerlifting, which is the sport of lifting weights. They're not involved in weightlifting, again, a sport of lifting weights. So the activity is the sport. They want to do other things outside of here. So that could be a high rocks is an expression of fitness. Climbing up Carrantoul, an expression of fitness. Gardening, run around with the grandkids, swimming, all of these things are expression of the fitness qualities that we're building in here, okay? And ultimately, being able to do more with your body will give you more confidence. But you know, it is funny, right? There was one person in the gym that I spoke to after High Rocks, and for the most part, everybody was super happy. They loved what they did. One person had a particularly bad experience, and when he looked at the experience that he had in High Rocks, he realized super quick, it's like, oh, maybe I should have trained a bit harder. Maybe I could have trained a bit harder. Because the reality is, most of us don't know how unfit we are until we're challenged. And, you know, you would like the challenge to happen in here and not outside. I was walking down the road one day, and again, it just happened, right? So I was walking, and this car was coming this way, and there was a driveway in there, and I was looking at the person driving, going, she's not looking at me, she's not looking at me, and she just drove straight into me. And I went, whoop, and jumped. And like literally the car just went woof underneath me. Now, if I had have jumped a half a foot less, she would have ran me over. But I had the capacity to do that or to move fast. Now, I'm not saying, oh, it's only because you're in the gym, blah, blah, blah. But the idea there is that I had the capacity to do that, all right? It could be climb over a wall, it could, whatever the case may be, all right?
She stopped.
Do you know what? I just kept walking. And then I went in, I was in the hardware shop, and she came in, she was like, I nearly ran you over. I was like, that's okay. But like nothing bad happened, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I was just thinking to myself afterwards, like, holy moly, like she nearly literally ran me over, okay? So again, sometimes we don't know until we're challenged. And the reality of our life, most people's day-to-day life, from a physical standpoint, I'm not talking about psychological or emotional, but from a physical standpoint isn't challenging. We've done amazing things to be able to create huge comfort, carrying things, blah, 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 right? So it's only when somebody comes in here and they're like, oh, I used to, you know, play rugby for Blackrock, you're looking down, dude, that was like 45 years ago you played rugby for Blackrock. All right, so it's a while ago, okay?